Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and greetings and salutations to everybody that's watching. We have another episode of the Women of BSV. We've got the beautiful Ruth, myself, and today our special guest is Dmitriy Fabrikant, who is the creator of Knovigator. And hopefully we're going to find out all about Knovigator, what it is, what it does, and what the future plans are as well. So welcome to today's show. We are very pleased and very happy to have you here.
Thanks, Ruth and Diddy, for having me.
It's our pleasure. I noticed you on Twitter maybe only a couple of weeks ago now, and I was reading all your tweets and stuff, and I thought, oh, this is intriguing. I mean, it's almost philosophical. I thought a lot of it. So I really wanted to invite you on the show. But the first thing to ask you is that I haven't seen you around in BSV. So are you new to BSV, or have I just not come across you before?
I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm new to BSV, but I definitely was lurking a little bit more. I think the reason is because I've been kind of heads down working on Knovigator, and I've finally gotten it to the point where I started, where I feel like the product is good enough to where I can start broadcasting it out. So that's really the reason. Is just I've been more less talking about it and more building, and so now I'm still going to be building, obviously, but now I'm kind of getting more into the talking about it mode, and so that's why you're probably starting to hear more about it, so, which is great.
What's your backstory though for coming across BSV? Let's you know.
I think my backstory is it's interesting because I actually I got into Bitcoin in 2013, I would say. So I've been around Bitcoin for a while, and I was just more. I really enjoyed the philosophy of it, especially the decentralization, having money separate from the state, and all of these kinds of ideas. And I was really more. I was following the cryptocurrency scene. I actually had a product. I built a crypto portfolio tracker called Cryptograph that tracked your cryptocurrency portfolio. And in that sense, I was really more invested in it from the investment and speculation side. And then, all the hash wars happened, the forks and all of that stuff, which I was following. And I really started kind of understanding the application side of it more as that happened, and getting the really, it's almost like an alternate vision at this point, which is like the microtransaction vision as opposed to the store of value vision.
Was that like a eureka moment for you, kind of seeing it in that different context?
I think that I'm sure there were some eureka moments. I think that I probably am not alone in saying, like, at some point, maybe 2018, or I forget the exact year, but I was following Wright and some of his writings. So shout out to him, because I was just seeing kind of like what he was building on the platform. And then you can just use your eyes and see that BSV has the cheapest transactions. So I'm really coming at this, I'm not from a tribal perspective. And I actually think that different cryptocurrencies can have different uses, and the market will prove that out. But I'm just coming at it from, I have an application to build and a function to fulfill, which is essentially to value information. And so for that, if you want to value information, you need really, really cheap transactions. And so BSV is kind of the only game in town. And the other thing I want to say is, like, it really actually just makes a lot of sense. I learned Bitcoin, not like expert level, but I dug into the white paper and how it worked, and I have a technical background, so I understand it from a technical perspective. Again, not like super expert level, but enough to see how it works. And it never made sense to me to have an artificial block size cap. It makes, the whole premise of Knovigator is that you have to use the market to value attention. You have to use the market to direct attention. And so you can't, I felt the same way about the block size. You have to use the market to determine the block size. It never made sense that someone would just arbitrarily decide a block size. Like, why is it 1 megabyte? Why not 2 megabytes? Why not? So
yeah,
so I understood how Bitcoin worked, except for that one part. And then when BSV comes along and says, actually, that, that's not how it should be, that made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Economically, it's never going to be viable really to keep 1 meg block sizes. So we understand why now. I think a lot of people understand why that happened, and that's still happening. So taking from there, then, how does Knovigator kind of fit in with your plans?
I want the elevator pitch, because I'm finding it quite a difficult thing to define. So define it for us.
Yeah. I think Knovigator is a place to have valuable conversation. That's a very high level what it is. And I think that's what it is to people as they will use it. And then through those conversations, by valuing conversations using BSV, we can actually create a information market and use that as the algorithm which directs our attention. And so instead of using centralized corporations and their advertising-based models, we can actually just use a market to decide where our attention should go. And so that is kind of like the low-level part, which is, okay, let's go have some really valuable conversations, and the quality of those conversations will be better because there's actually skin in the game. And then through our use of this tool locally, globally, we're ranking the content of the world and directing human attention. And so I think that, I think the market is one of the most amazing human coordination technologies. And what I'm trying to do is leverage it to direct attention and to price content.
So is it more like Daniel Krawitz's Boost Power, where you're devoting some hashing to raise it up through the ranks, or is it more like a Reddit upvote?
It's more like, I call it an up value. So it's an upvote with actual money. So it's essentially you're upvoting with tiny amounts of money. And I like that. I like the idea of rewarding content that you find valuable. And because if you make the value, the amount of the transaction in any given moment small enough, then I believe that the friction there, you'll remove the friction of, like, you almost don't even think about it as money. It's just like a little reward for content that you enjoy. But there's enough sacrifice there that it's still an honest signal about quality content.
Absolutely.
And so it's really like you're trying to find that balance. And that's the thesis of Knovigator. And the reason that BSV is so useful is because the transaction cost is so cheap, that you can make that up value so small that you can remove the friction of transacting with money, even in real-time conversation. And if you do that at scale, then what you'll get is a price across all of the content in the system. And you can use that price to rank things, and including like search results, including, what should I be doing today? All of these questions about how do I direct my attention? And your attention is really your most valuable resource.
Yeah. And
so we don't really have a good way of pricing that right now. So my goal is to create a compelling communication platform that then emergently has this effect of rank ordering information.
It's fantastic goal, fantastic idea. But the actual execution of it has me a little bit stumped. So I'd really love it if you could share your screen with us and talk us through it, because it seems like the interface is like each thing does multiple functions. And I'm a bit, at the moment, I'm a bit confused about what my feed is versus what everyone else's feed looks like and how they interact. So pull up your shared screen and talk me through it, because I need a bit of a tutorial on this.
Sure. So there's, at a high level, there's kind of several places you can be, and you can see that by clicking on the name of the stream. So right now I'm in a stream, and I clicked on the name of the stream to get this choose stream dropdown. And now I have like, I have essentially like feeds that I can visit. So this Knovigator feed is just, this is like the social network aspect of Knovigator. This is the public Knovigator feed, where if we go there, you can see like Ruth actually messaged me, and you can see there's all these threads. A stream is just a stream of threads. So there's all these threads, and this is all public. And then if I go to the other streams, I'll cover just these three for this demo. I have notifications. So notifications is like where here we go. So this is where Ruth messaged me. So these are all my messages essentially. So that's notifications. And then there's,
and they're private to you, or are they still public?
So notifications span both public and private streams. So then I have some notes in my private stream. So streams are like essentially streams of threads. They're like kind of like workspaces. So the Knovigator stream is like the public place where I can post and everyone can see my stuff. The private stream is my private notes and diary and private conversations and so on. And so whenever I'm in a stream, I can just click whichever stream I'm in, I can just click thread. And now I'm in a new thread that has the permissions of whatever stream I was in, right? So here I have a private thread. If I go back to the public stream and I click thread, I'll actually be in a public thread. So whatever stream I'm in that context, and I'm writing and creating in that context. And at this point, it's just like Twitter or Slack. You're just writing. You're just saying, hello.
Is there any character limit or anything?
There's no character limit, but it is threaded. So what happens is I do kind of encourage the UI encourages threading, and the reason is because so let's demonstrate. So what I want to talk about with Knovigator, right? So I want to have valuable conversations, and then I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about two technologies or two kind of ways that we can get valuable conversations, and that's infinite threading, and then being able to value messages or content. So let's talk about infinite threading first. So when I click on any message in Knovigator, it actually branches off a new thread, okay? So I can branch indefinitely.
So you can start. So they could be like your topic, varying topics with multi-threads.
Yes, exactly. So the infinite threading, what it does. So let me just you can see I just clicked here, and then it slid everything over, and now it opened up another branch, and I can keep doing this. So I'll explain why this is useful. And so I just branched a couple of times, and now I'm going to go back. So you see this button right here in the top, in the corner. And now I'm just going to go back. And now I'm back at the original place, at my original thread. Does that infinite threading make sense, this concept?
Yes, so I wondered what that button was doing. Right, okay.
Yeah, so you see that this initial thread that I created, it doesn't have that button because this was a root level thread. I just clicked thread. I didn't branch from anywhere. But because this infinite threading branches off of this message, it's got this little button. So if I click here, and now I want to now I have an option. I can either go up the hierarchy of the tree, or I can click here. You see this little one right here. Yeah. Now this tells me that there's one message in this branch, and here is that message. And you can see that this doesn't have that little badge. So when I click here, it's just empty. It's just an empty place to write, but I can write, or I can invite any number of people. Like maybe I'll invite Leo. And so when I invited Leo, even he got a notification to come to that there's a message for him in this thread.
And can he see, what can he see? Just
so
that?
Because this is a public thread, he can see everything, right?
Right, okay.
So, but if this was a private thread, he would only be able to see the branch that he was mentioned in, and then any descendant branch. So he sees like down into the tree, but he doesn't see this stuff, the higher up into the branch. Yeah. And so so to see how this plays out, like you can see that this is a tree structure, right? This infinite threading created this tree structure. But when I actually go to the stream, the public stream, all I see is I just see a time ordered list of threads. You see?
That's
but when
very
I see
efficient.
Yeah, when I see this list though, I can hop into any branch. Let's say I go to infinite threading, and let me clear this out. Now I'm in a particular branch of that tree, and I can traverse that tree. So I'm back into this context. Okay.
So when you've got, like, I mean, say you've had 5,000 conversations with varying people and a lot of threads that are happening, how can you search, what's the easiest way to search for a specific thread? So say you've had 10 conversations after you spoke to Ruth, what is it? Just a simple kind of search, put the name in, and then that will come up, or is?
Yep. So like I can do like hello women of BSV. I do a search, and
that would bring that conversation.
That would come up. So yep. And so this actually gets to the next idea. This is a great segue. Is why we want to value these messages, and I'll show how to value and up value in a second. But it's exactly what you said. What if you have like 1 million of these threads, right?
Yeah.
And we want to be able to search and find what we need, and this works really well without any kind of market for content if you have a little bit of content. But we live in a world where we are basically inundated with information.
Oh yeah.
And so there's going to be more content than we can handle no matter what. And so you have to discriminate. And the question is, like, how do you discriminate? And so for example, like if I look at Knovigator, right, I'll just search for Knovigator, and I'm going to get a bunch of threads back. And you can see that this thread has $100 on it. So this is 100. This is in cents, but it's $100 essentially. And so I should be able to, or maybe I'll do like multiplex problem. Let's do that. And so now I'm getting back threads, and they're ranked by the amount of money. So I have to discriminate somehow, and what I'm doing is I'm using money to discriminate. It's a huge input into the search ranking algorithm. And when many people are upvaluing this, then what the results of my search are representing a market and the human judgment of market participants. As opposed,
so it's a bit like Wikipedia, but what everybody collectively thinks is the best Wikipedia entry, not just
exactly. That's a big
permissions.
That's a big dynamic here. Is like, so imagine if, so there's kind of like two ways to have conversations. We can have conversations just with each other, and that's really great. But then we can also have conversations about other sources, right? So maybe we're having a conversation about an article, or we're having a conversation about a news event or something like that. Or maybe about a book. And so the fact that we can have a conversation and then upvalue our conversation about other sources means those sources also get ranked, because if our conversation about some TV show, for example, I search for Knovigator TV. So here, divide by 0 actually created a list of TV shows, and we just started putting TV shows in, and we're upvaluing, you know, our favorite ones. And
so something like this as well gives you a real indication as to what people are really interested in.
Right,
instead
exactly,
of
because it's an honest signal, right? Because upvaluing actually requires a sacrifice of value. So you really know that I like Wheel of Time more than, you know, Game of Thrones, for example.
Yeah.
And so this is, by the way, this is another feature here. Like the threads, by default, you can see that this thread is a thread, but this thread is a quest. And what a quest does, it rank orders just like a search results rank based on up value. You can take individual threads and rank them on up value. So, for example, if I have this infinite thread, what I do is by default, this is just a regular upvote, and I might change this. I might make this by default up value, but in the current product, by default, it's just a regular upvote. And to switch over to up value, I actually click on the number. You can see that switches it to 0 cents. And then now I'm using actual money. So I just sent 4 cents to this message. And this message has 0 cents. And so now what I'll do is I'll convert this to a quest, and you can see the 4 cent one pop to the top. So I'm just demonstrating.
What does quest exactly mean?
Quest is just a type of thread where it ranks the messages by the amount of up value. So
value rather than just upvotes.
Yeah, well, no. So the thread. Look, when I go to the thread, it's time ordered, right? It's like a conversation. Like this was the first message, this was the second message. If I switch to a quest, it ranks it by either upvote or up value, whatever.
Okay.
Up value is always going to be worth more than the upvote.
I see. So thread is just like thoughts put out there, and quest is like trying to rank order things.
Yes, exactly. It's your thoughts, or it's a conversation. A thread is just, it works like a conversation, right? Because it's a container for time ordered messages, which is essentially what a chat is. It's just a series of time ordered messages. So for example, if I
really like it, I like it a lot.
Is it something that can be, I mean, embedded and integrated into other sites? So if you've got, like, you know, I mean, you got, I don't know, big platform, and then you want to add a chat feature, is this something that can be used for that?
At the moment, it's not there yet, but I imagine that it will be done. I just, you know, there's still a lot of work to do, and I think that I'm not quite at a point where I want to kind of divert my attention to going there, but I think that will happen eventually. It's just that I have a roadmap of like many features before that that I think are higher priority.
One day, maybe, yeah. It's wonderful. Let me just explain to you for a sec. When I use Twitter, I'm reluctant to ever get rid of Twitter and trying not to get banned, because I have done so much research over the years that I have literally dumped into Twitter for want of a better tool, honestly.
Right.
As a signpost for myself, because quite often when I'm having a conversation with somebody, I'll refer to my own previous tweets.
Right.
Because I did a lot of thinking in that thread that I don't want to have to go and duplicate or redo. And so it's this is kind of what I want, really.
Right.
Because you've got your own personal sort of diary potential, but also coupled with being able to pull people into threads. And just being able to go and find your own information again is really important. And then you can also rank it, or other people can rank it if you're talking about a similar topic or whatever. Yes. I mean, it's big stuff, this.
I saw attachments as well. There was a photo in there, so you can upload photos and video and stuff like that as well.
Oh yeah, so you can both copy and paste images, or you can there's a let me move this share screen thing. There's you can attach files, and you can also actually record videos and screen recordings. So actually, the video is actually one of my favorite. I'm going to try this. I don't know if it's going to work. Hello, everyone. This is a video.
So it's got screen capture capability.
Yeah, it has screen capture capability. So actually, like, there's the user named Mungo Jelly, which is doing all of these like Duro Dog videos. I'll show that in a sec.
Oh yeah.
But check this out. So this video, when I recorded it and I spoke into it, and it automatically got transcribed. So
oh wow, okay.
It got a message transcript was generated, and that just creates a thread where it transcribes. So I didn't say much in this video, but it transcribes, you know, what I said. If there was more sentences that I would speak, then it would have put in, it would have threaded the video. I hope that makes sense. Like, it would have broken out the video into several short videos.
Hello, everyone.
That's amazing. You know who that'd be good for is Craig Wright, because I think he speaks into his computer more than he types. Well, yeah. I don't know, based on the amount of typos, maybe he types.
I'd love to show
like, yeah, I mean, he'd probably really enjoy that feature.
But the video, I actually think that the video is going to be a really important aspect of this tool.
Yeah, just the screen capture capability itself is a really useful thing. I mean, this isn't written to chain, though, is it? The transactions are on chain.
It's not, and I'm not convinced that everything has to be written to chain. And we can talk about. But I just wanted to show you some Mungo Jelly. I mean, he creates these like screen recordings of his Duro Dog gameplay. So you can do these kinds of things, and what the transcription is nice for, and the reason I really like it is because it makes all your videos searchable.
Yeah.
And so let me show you one more cool thing that I really like is that
is it multi-language? I mean, is that sort of a feature that will happen in multiple languages as well? Because at the moment, obviously, that's in English. So if the French,
the transcription, I believe. So we're using Whisper, OpenAI's Whisper a model for the transcription, and I believe they do. I think it does do multiple languages.
Is that cost efficient? I mean, could people like spend all your credits?
Yeah. So it's at this right now. I'm just trying to grow and trying to get users. I think that eventually there will be ways to monetize this that, you know, will make up for my current investment.
I think maybe just charging a fee for people to post a video.
I could be. I'm a little bit hesitant to do that because I actually, it's all about removing friction, right? So if there's a way where I can recoup the investment, you know, some other way without setting up the friction of, you know, having to do like a calculation, is this video worth it? So like Knovigator is all about removing friction. That's why it has this. That's why I'm able to just branch off ideas whenever I want. It's all about like, you know, like if I'm writing and I'm like, oh, I want to write about this, and I just branch off and I'm like, you know, and I start writing here. So it's all about removing as much friction as possible while maintaining the structure of the infinite threading, so that you can get back to your prior messages. So kind of to circle all the way back to our original thread. By the way, this is, I know I'm going on tangents, but that's because I'm using the Knovigator features, and then I have to like explain what I'm doing. But what I just did was, so you can see that this is my main panel. Well, this is called the active thread where I'm writing. But here,
how did you pull up that panel?
Yeah, so it just pulls up when I hover over on the left. I can keep it if I click on this little caret, I can drop it in and it will stay. So it's up to me. I like to close it. And so then I can so that's not in the way when I use it. But what it does is it's a history of everywhere I've been. So you can see there's this history.
I think this would be really useful for university students.
Exactly. A research.
Yes.
Really great.
Yes. So it has a lot of, if you guys are familiar with the whole tools of thought space, I don't know if like tools like Obsidian and Rome Research, these kind of, it's such like personal knowledge management. So what
Not
I'm trying to do is I'm kind of wed those concepts into a social network, essentially. And that's why again, that's why the like we talked about before we got on, is like it's knowledge navigator, right? So the idea is like a navigator is someone who uses up value to signal quality content to kind of direct attention to that content. So it's a person navigating knowledge and kind of setting the way, like a wayfinder for others to go to quality stuff, is kind of how but that's the inspiration for the name. And just to finish this thought, this is the history panel, and this basically is like everywhere I've been, right? So I can easily hop around. So I just here are all the branches that we were at. Here's the TV list show with the Knovigator. Those are the TV shows. I can just click into that. So it's very easy to hop around this tree structure that I'm navigating, and back to Hello Women of BSV, which was the very first thread that we started with. And then I have this other section, which is the pinned thread. So if I'm like, oh, I'm working on something and I want to lock it into place and have somewhere to go, then I just click this little pin star button, and it will just put that into here. And this is like, my current things where I want to get back to very easily.
And can you have multiple pins? Because I find that's one thing a bit annoying about
all of these are pins right here.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so you can, and I can, for example, if I want to like get rid of something, I can just get rid of this, and it's gone. So I control what gets put into this list. So I just want to circle back all the way to the infinite threading idea, which is all of these tools are single dimensional. Like if you think about any chat tool you use, it all gets all of your messages and all of your ideas get flattened into a single dimension. This is what I call the multiplex problem, and that's the Lego video that I think you saw. Essentially, like if you're talking about two different topics in a chat, there's no way to separate out the topics. All of the messages in those two topics, especially if they're happening simultaneously, they just get mixed together.
And people get pissed off as well, don't they? They're like, why are you on my thread talking about your dumb shit? Yeah.
Yes, it can. Yeah, of course, it can be pretty frustrating. And the reason it's even not in the moment, but ultimately later on, it's even more frustrating because you can't actually get back to that conversation. You might get back to a particular message, but it has all of these irrelevant other messages around it. So you literally, the data structure in these tools doesn't exist to capture like a conversation. And so that's like a big kind of benefit of Knovigator, that because of this branching mechanic, because of this infinite threading, and being able to branch each message off into its own space. So like, here's my valuable conversation space. Here's my infinite threading space with some messages. Because I can do this, when I search, I can actually get back to just a particular branch or just a particular topic, and have that topic then be even part of a larger context. So it's very easy to find related content.
Is there a concept of retweeting or anything like that in this?
So there is no concept of retweeting, but what I can do is, there's kind of like a quote tweet. What I can do is every message has this copy link button. And when I copy it, when I paste it in, it actually like quote, if you're thinking of Twitter,
right.
it actually quote tweets it. And what will happen is, what's interesting about this feature is when I post this, if I go to the ICANN branch, and definitely this is the message that I just quoted, it will actually tell me, it will respond and tell me where this message was quoted. So you see, like, I can branch infinitely, and it says MetaMeter quoted your message. And now I can go back to where, this is a little bit confusing if you haven't used it and seeing this for the first time, but essentially this is what's called a backlink. And I can go, and it links me back to the message where it was quoted. So now if I go here, now I'm back to that same spot.
And then every time you get a new message or a new thread or anything, then it's actually, you can see that appear because your little blue circle, well, your circle will be blue. So you know that you've got incoming messages and things.
So
Yeah.
you're talking about this circle?
Yeah,
exactly. So there's two things to say there is whenever there's a message added in the branch, I do get this increment. Like if I add another message here, this will hop to 3. So and then if there's other people speaking in there, I'll see that, there's like a conversation happening here because this keeps
1,000.
Yeah. And then there's another thing, which is this little notification bell. And this just tells you like, no matter which stream or no matter which thread, if there's a message for you to see, you can just click here and that will take you to the notification stream. And you can see that Leo responded. If you recall, I mentioned him in this thread. And you can see that Ruth was talking to me. And so this is the Knovigator. This is the public stream, and then I'll have messages in the private stream. This is the DuroDog stream. So you can see that the notifications span all these different streams. It's kind of like my inbox. It's like, where's the action happening? And I can hop to any of those places. What the infinite threading does is it gives you the structure to be able to find things like I talked about, and solves this multiplex problem because the conversations aren't being mixed together. But being able to find things is a prerequisite of being able to value things. So that's very important, because think about like your Slack channel, your Slack messages, or your Telegram channels. Like, how does it make sense to upvalue those messages if they're just going to disappear forever? They're ephemeral and they're going to scroll away and you can never get back to them. Like, the whole concept doesn't make sense of like trying to invest in some good content. So to be able to have this like idea of valuing good content, you have to be confident that you can actually get back to that content in the future. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. I mean, Slack, for example, I'll just be quick on this. Slack, for example, if you don't pay the pro version, after 30 days, all your messages they disappear.
Right. Exactly.
So that is a bit of a pain.
I feel like it's a bit pointless.
Yeah. Well, even if you were paying, I would argue that if you would, because of this multiplex problem idea, because your conversations and topics are all being mixed together, you just wouldn't even be able to get back to the conversation that you wanted to. You could try and do it. It probably would take a lot of work. You would literally have to sift through like, okay, there's this message, and that.
I know. I've tried. Yeah,
it's
it really difficult to find anything.
Right.
And also, once you stop paying, then that's it. You've lost all your messages anyway. So like, so if you're using it for a business tool, and then I don't know, a couple of years down the line you decide to use something else and you want to come out of Slack, you stop paying that subscription, you've lost everything that was on there, even if it was useful information that you would actually want to go back to. You can't do that. Right. You mentioned something, I just said this. Do you think email will ever be replaced by these kind of messaging boards?
If I'm being honest, I really can't. I have trouble using other tools besides Knovigator, just because of like the threading mechanic is such a useful mechanic. And if you think about like email, and you get these long email chains, and the way that it's presented, they actually have, like, you do actually reply to messages, but they just don't have the right UX for it. No. And so one of the ideas behind Knovigator actually is like, I can actually take an email stream and represent it in a Knovigator thread tree. So, and that's another idea behind this tool is in the future, I will actually consume these other services, and you'll be able to just you'll be able to like pull up an email stream, and then have the same branch, and then have this thread tree representation of your email conversation in Knovigator. That's much easier to kind of look at and navigate. And I can actually do this I can do this probably with Twitter, with Facebook. So the one way I'm thinking about this is like it's an abstraction. It abstracts out all of these other user experiences and just gives you one user experience that works across all of them. And so you can there's no cost switching. There's no cost to switching between basically data streams. Like I could be looking at the Facebook stream, I could be looking at the Twitter stream, I could be looking at the Slack stream, but I can be looking at them and upvaluing those messages in Knovigator. This is something that's further down the line. This doesn't exist yet, but that's kind of where my head is at with that.
Yes, I could see that when you were showing it. It's like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense for that kind of application, to be honest with you. So this is a massive project that you've undertaken.
Yes. So I think at first, what this is valuable conversations. That's what it's about. It's, you know, I think that's going to be the value and the visceral feeling that you get when you use the tool. It's going to be very low friction to write in. It's going to be easy to kind of explore different topics because it works well with how your mind associates new topics from your current topic, and you'll be able to branch things off with people and explore ideas. So it's this like frictionless way of navigating thought and conversation.
I think you'll be able to do things you can't do currently. Like that's how kind of breakthrough it is.
Yes, that's right. Like no one really does infinite threading. It's kind of like a lot of people talk about it, but but no one really has done it that well. And I think that there's actually I'm actually working on an update to the UX that's going to really take this threading dynamic like to the extreme. It's going to be, I'm really looking forward to kind of sharing with people in the future. But it's this sliding mechanic where you're like following the branches. So right now you can only see 2 panels at a time, and I'm going to make it so it's just infinite panels, and you're essentially just going to be like traversing this tree without
like your mind palace. You will.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so the game here is like, how do you create this compelling conversation experience, and then once people feel that, then they start using the BSV to upvalue their favorite content. And it's almost like what I want to do is I want to give people a reason to spend their BSV. It's like what I'm saying is that BSV is so cheap, the transactions are so cheap that we can spend it and kind of get a virtuous result that's greater than the individual transactions that we're spending. I almost feel like it's a collaborative curation global project.
It's like somebody creates a document and then like everybody can add their comments to it.
Yeah, 100%.
And so you're encouraging people to join in the conversation because you know that it can be branched off sort of safely in a sense, so that you've still got the core kind of content.
Does Knovigator have its own wallet? I mean, how are you?
So right now, what it's doing is it's using the Handcash SDK. So it uses Handcash. So the way that you would do it is you would click on, there's a little in the top right, I'm not sharing anymore, but in the top right, there's a little profile picture of your avatar. And
it pulled it straight out of Handcash for me. I don't think you even had to connect for it to do that. So
you just connect through Handcash, and then it pulls in your details from Handcash into Knovigator.
And then the cool thing is actually that if you go and you write good content and someone upvalues you, Knovigator will basically have a layer 2 account for you where you can now spend that up value. So even before you set up a Handcash wallet, if you go and
it's like your credits stored.
Yeah, it's like I mean, it's not even credit. It's just Knovigator keeps a BSV account for you. So in that sense, it is a wallet. But but what I'm saying is that you don't need to connect to start being rewarded for good content. You can just, like, if you've never heard of Handcash or anything, you can just go and write interesting things and you'll be rewarded, and then you will in turn have a balance that you can use to reward other content.
Oh, brilliant. So it onboards you at the same time. This is very clever stuff.
Yeah, so the idea here is that once we get the up value mechanic and people are comfortable with money flowing through their chat, you can actually do a lot more interesting things, because you can start engineering. So I'm going to give you kind of like the long-term vision here. So at first, we just have simple rewards. That's what exists now. But in the future, you can do all kinds of like incentive engineering, essentially, where you can create different kind of different ways of distributing the BSV depending on the type of conversation you have. So the quest is actually a good example of that, right? So like, oh, I have a quest now and I can rank, that's basically a vote, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. You can do things like, maybe you can have a prediction market if you're having a debate, built right into your chat. So it's this like, once you get past this like psychological threshold of having like actual money flowing through your messages, you can start like building on that. And of course, BSV is a programmable money, and so you can basically whatever you can imagine, you can start doing. And so again, like a prediction market in a debate. So if you make a claim, you make an investment into your claim, and then maybe later on, if you end up being right, you collect the reward. Or if you're first to upvalue something that was good, and then a bunch of people came in after you and upvalued that thing, maybe you get a percentage of that reward. So now you're getting a reward for having good taste. So you can have these kind of dynamics play out in the tool, but only if there's a very cheap money, very cheap transacted money flowing through the tool. And so that's one thing I'm very excited about, is like those kinds of possibilities. And my plan is to kind of open it up to people eventually, where people will pick and choose the kind of incentives they want to have operating in their thread or in their stream. And it's like you can create different spaces with different incentives. And so that will be further down the line. But that's kind of
so you could have like wikis and, Ask Ruth threads and
right,
like
exactly, yeah,
different goals. And
because one thing I forgot to mention, the streams, I showed you the private stream and I showed you the public stream, but you can actually create arbitrary streams. So you can go and you can, in that same stream drop down, you can just say create stream, and you can choose whether it's public or it's private. And now you have a space where you can post threads. And so later on, as I mentioned, you'll be able to kind of select not just whether it's public or private, but maybe the kind of incentive structure it has or it supports. And so that, again, that's further down the line. For the first, currently it's starting out very simple. You just reward content that you enjoy or you like or you feel is valuable.
The way it appears in my head is like you're building a brain with all the kind of neuronal connections are all kind of like reaching out to each other. You're going to create this like mapped grid, I don't know, small world network maybe. Do you know what I mean? It's
So this goes right to that tools.
It's become dense and complex and broad and wide and deep.
Yeah, you're using kind of the language of the tools of thought community where you build this knowledge graph. So that's why. So I'm kind of importing that, and the reason that's interesting is because. So what we have today is really like we have doom scrolling, right? So we have like that's our attention is essentially captured by bad incentives because of the advertising model. Because everyone, essentially our social networks aren't working for us. They're working for advertisers. And the fact that we get any value out of them is incidental almost. It's like, they're not designed to make the best use of our attention, which is, again, our most valuable resource. So what I'm asking is, how do we build a social network or a conversation experience that's designed to optimize for you, for your attention, to show you the most valuable content? Like, what I think about is like, how can I wake up, open up my phone and be virtue scrolling instead of doom scrolling? Like, how do I virtue scroll? How do I make it so all of the content that I'm seeing is so high value? Mm-hmm. I think that there's a way to do that. I think that we don't have to settle for like the angst on Twitter and all of the name calling and all. So I mean, again, this is like I'm very early in the process, and it remains to be seen whether I'm successful. But what I am sure of is that money is a part of that, because again, markets are, I think markets don't get enough credit. Like I think that that they're such a powerful tool, and if we just use them in our real-time conversation, I think that
creatively,
if we use them correctly, if we figure out how to harness them, then I think that it will be very powerful, and I think that it will benefit us in a lot of ways. And of course, there's all kinds of challenges, and when I say this, I can already hear people, with counter arguments, and I think that some of them, the challenges will have to be overcome, but I think that that's the main idea, that's the main vision, and I think that it's the right way to go. I think that there's no alternative. It's either the market decides what you're looking at, or a corporation decides.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know of any other way to do it.
Just as a side note, because I'm a graphic designer, and I would, it's off the top of my head, but I would be inclined to use color a little bit to, as well as placement on the page, to help people know what they're looking at. I don't know. I think there's some tweak that needs to happen to your interface to make it slightly more intuitive. I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah, I think that's it's a work in progress, and it's getting better and better. You should have seen it before. So so I 100%. I mean, I'm gonna be at some point I'm gonna be working with a designer. Right now, it's kind of me, and
it's going to be epic. It's going to be epic when you kind of, the further along you get with it.
Yeah, so it's constantly improving, and that's definitely one of the things that needs work for sure, among many other things.
And there are no barriers to entry, really. I mean, as long as you've got a hand cache, then that's anyone.
Yeah, you don't even, like I said, you don't even need hand cache. You can just come and write, and someone, if you write good stuff, someone will upvalue you, and in fact, you don't, if you're using it privately, like a private knowledge, like a diary or like a note-taking tool, then there, like, even though I want to push back on my own claim there a little bit, is I actually did a tweet a little while ago where I showed how I upvalued my own to-do items, right? And so I actually do use upvalue to even in single player mode to
order lists.
Exactly, to control my attention. So I actually create a quest, like what I showed you. I make a to-do list. I change it to a quest, and then I upvalue the to-do items in that quest. And the reason I do that is because now if I want to add an item to the top, I have to actually spend more BSV than the highest item. And what that does is it essentially incurs a cost for procrastination. So I better be really serious about that item I'm adding to the top of that list. So that's just another interesting way that you can use money to manipulate even your own attention. And that same thing with
thousands of ways this could be used that we've not even thought of.
Yeah, you can this idea of a quest and of a ranked of ranking things by upvalue. You can do things like one kind of play here for me is I'm going to be going after essentially companies everything that I just said about the social network and about managing attention and about making sure that you're focusing on the right thing, on the valuable information, is relevant to, like right now I was talking about that as a social network scoped to the globe, but if you can scope that to a company or an organization or a community, and so all of those things, all of that quote unquote rhetoric applies there, and even more so. So if you're at a company and you're trying to figure out like what feature should I build next, or what blog posts,
users to vote.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what is a vote? A vote is essentially a question about what should we be doing, or what should we be focusing on, what should we be reading, what should we be viewing. I mean, all of those are essentially votes. So I'm providing a mechanism with skin in the game, with money, where you have to actually make sacrifices.
I mean, that's Twitch do that quite well at the moment, because they have a series of things they want to work on, and then people fund them.
Exactly.
And when the funding gets full, they action it and make them write it.
Exactly. So what a Knovigator quest is, it's just that idea, but you can spin up like you can spin up one for your, what feature should we build next? You can spin up one for where should we have lunch next? You can spin up one for what blog post, what piece of education should we be studying for our employees? And so that's for a company. And so I'm actually on a quest to demo this to all of these different BSV companies. So hopefully we'll see how that goes. You guys, this will probably help, I hope. But,
yeah, no, definitely.
But say for a company, so now you have this kind of attention management solution for scope to a company, but there's also community, right? So like, for example, if I'm going to pitch you guys now, but essentially let's say you have a bunch of fans and you want to know like, okay, well, which topic should we cover next? You can get a really good idea by essentially having people upvalue, topic ideas. Not only that, so one thing I forgot to mention is, do you remember when I upvalued my own message in the demo?
Yeah.
So if that money is going to the creator, right? So in that case, that money actually went to Knovigator because I was upvaluing my own stuff. So I forgot to mention that. So that's one way that Knovigator monetizes. But if you put the topics, then you're getting that, and you're showing those potential topics to your audience, then you're getting that up value. And so what you're essentially getting a market signal like instantly, right? Like in real time, you're like, hey guys, what should we be talking about? And you're already getting a market signal about where the interest lies, and you know that it's an honest signal. That's the key. It's not a cheap signal like likes or
like a Twitter poll that doesn't.
Or a Twitter poll, yeah. No, actually, you have to spend a little bit of money. And the really nice thing about, again, BSV is because the transactions are so cheap, even a tiny bit of money creates this signal. Because the reason is because you don't need to spend a lot, but if you spend anything, you've had some sacrifice, and you're able to rank things in relation to each other. So even if something has like 3 cents, but then another thing has 1 cent, that's still a valuable information. So it doesn't take much money. That's the key here. It's like any money, and you're already getting signal, and it's a signal that, again, it's honest because it's a sacrifice of even a small amount of value.
I think it embodies the concepts that Craig Wright is trying to drive home all the time to us, isn't it? It's a really good demonstration of all of those incentives that he keeps talking about.
Yeah. The trick is like, how do you make the user experience so that all of those things are functioning frictionlessly in your real-time conversation? That's like the challenge here. And if you can do that, then that's very powerful, and that's what I'm trying to do.
And I like the idea of integrating the videos into it as well.
Yeah, I really am a big fan of the videos. It's like, I
literally made a channel for myself like 13 years ago, long time ago, because I got health issues, where I was documenting the research that I was doing, and honestly, it's not for anyone else. It was for me, but it's such a great way, rather than sitting there and typing away and trying to reference yourself and all that kind of shit. You just sit there and talk to the camera, and it's such an effective, efficient way.
Yes. Yeah, I do that. I do it all the time. It's a video diary. That's one very nice use case for this. Just you pop open the private stream, or you create like a little diary stream for yourself, and then just leave videos. And then the really nice thing about that is, like, whenever you have a something you want to share, you can just mention whoever you want and invite them just to that thread. So it's like a very flexible permission model as well. And I'm actually working on this concept called an asynchronous interview. So it's essentially like right now we're having a synchronous interview, but what we're doing, me and my friend are doing, is I'm interviewing him, like, and we're just going back and forth.
Chess game.
What's that? Yeah,
like a chess game.
Yeah, exactly, but with video and interview questions. So, and again, all of the branching mechanic plays out because I can like go down different kind of rabbit holes with him depending on what he says. So it will be an interesting. I think it's the only, like, the first one of its kind. We'll see.
I think it is. I think it is.
Yeah, we'll see how it actually works out. But yeah, I'm just psyched about the video. I don't know, because in the screen recording in the video, and like what you said is like the diary, right? Because of the message transcription now in Knovigator, that's searchable and
so much more useful. Yeah.
And
images are just more powerful, really.
Well, the cool thing about that transcription is it's actually just a regular Knovigator thread. So because it chunks up the video, all of those messages, you can branch off of them as well. So
is there a time limit for videos? Because obviously, I mean, like you say, at the moment, I mean, it's server side, so you don't want somebody uploading like 40-minute screen capture.
Funny. Everyone asks me that. Everyone is so worried about. I'm like, everyone is more worried about my server costs than I am. I'm okay with server costs, to be honest with you.
A little bit of success is going to like really blow the whole thing wide.
Yeah, that's not my worry is like getting people in and making content. Is
so nice problem to have.
Yeah, exactly. When my server costs are really high, I'll be like, okay, my mission will be achieved. So yeah, I'm not worried about that. Actually, what I'm worried about. I had this exact conversation already with another Knovigator user, and what I'm worried about more than the server costs is the attention spamming. So if you're just like making random bad videos, and let's say in the public stream, that's what I'm more worried about than my costs on the server. So that's the problem I'm trying to solve, and up value is going to be, you know, a big part of that, like we talked about.
And obviously, like you just saying there as well, there would be certain content that might not be acceptable. So would that be something that the AI or the algorithm or whatever would kind of consider? Sort of.
I bet it's coming. I bet it's already. I bet it's coming.
Yeah, that's that's a very hard problem, and that's another one of those problems that it will be kind of good to have, because it means that there's enough scale for it to be a problem. So I'm gonna deal with it kind of the best way that I can. I don't have a like the perfect answer for that at the moment, just because it's not a problem I'm facing yet, so I'm not devoting a lot of cycles to it. But it's definitely going to be a challenge about how. So again, like there's a question of I think one way to solve it is essentially going to be kind of moving content that's like, I don't know, more risque to like a dedicated stream maybe, and letting people opt into that, and then filtering out of the public stream. And then
a filter would work.
So and you can actually, that's getting easier and easier with AI to some extent, although
I mean, you don't really want to go down the route of YouTube where you're just censoring everything and anything just for some political reason, but you do want to, there are certain things that there's
no getting away from that. I mean, obviously my hope is that, you know, the prospect of getting upvalued is, again, that the whole idea is like the understanding that you can actually be rewarded for good quality stuff is going to incentivize people to make good quality stuff. So that would be a big mechanism, but I understand that won't be perfect, and so
you realize people will vote porn though, right? You get that.
100%. So that's totally right. So you have to be so you have to essentially take, you know, solve that problem. And there's
that problem when
yeah,
you get
there's various
content. Yeah, because I mean, you know, something like this, which is a platform, it's open to all and everyone. So yeah, age restricted, as you say. So if people want to get in touch with you, then Dmitry, where can they find you? Obviously, Knovigator.com, but
Knovigator.com. They can follow me at Knovigator on Twitter at Knovigator. Yeah, I think those are the best probably places to start. Yeah, just come make an account, Knovigator.com. You can say hello right in the first message. You can say at Metamita, that will mention me, and just say hello. And I'm happy to use the screen recording feature to show people exactly what to do and how to do it, in terms of like how to use the tool.
Well, I mean, look, it's a horrible thing saying I'm not trying to upset anyone, but it's almost like it's social media for nerds at the minute, because there is a bit of a barrier to entry because it's complicated and it's like a complex idea. So, you know, I think it's good that we've gone through this demo of it, actually, because I don't think I would have immediately got it myself. So, yeah.
One thing is, I think that I know I said a lot of stuff, and I threw out a lot of ideas and all of the things that I'm thinking about. But ultimately, what it takes is just you just are writing things. So where those things end up and why and who upvalues you, I think that those things will kind of get figured out as you're.
Well, this is it. This is why I said earlier before we started recording, I joined Twitter, I think, in 2009, and then went away for 3 years because I was like, okay, I joined that. I don't really know what it's for.
Right.
I don't know how to use it. It's probably kind of crap at the time.
Yeah, I was
pretty much the same as well.
You get used to it, and then it's invaluable.
Yeah. I think one of the things that because I did the same with Twitter, but I think one of the things that is really valuable is a little quick how-to video on your front page. It's like literally 45 seconds or a minute, you know, it don't have to be too long, but you know, how you make
I think that's I think that's really good feedback. You know,
you're too close to it now.
What's that?
You're too close to it now.
Oh, I mean,
you need somebody like us who's just come in from nothing, and you know.
I totally agree. I think that the onboarding is definitely still a work in progress. So that's, you know, one of the things that
it's very slick. I mean, it all just worked for me. It wasn't an issue. It was just that you've got these kind of mystery meat buttons where, like, I've never seen before. I don't know what they do. And so it definitely needs something to make it slightly more intuitive than it is currently, or like straight up tooltips or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are tooltips there. So if you hover over the buttons, even though the tooltips, I think that I have this kind of conversation with my dad actually quite a bit.
There are, yes. Okay.
Yeah, I think that you definitely want to make it as intuitive as possible, and it's you know, with each iteration it's getting much better, and this is the best it's been, but there's still a lot of work to be done. 100%. I think that the onboarding is going to be built eventually.
Yeah,
I also think that this is a feeling you get with a lot of new tools, and you know, it's you just have to,
you just get used to it.
Yeah, you have to get used to it. You have to learn it, and the way that it's conversations like these that are going to kind of push people over the threshold more so than even any other thing. It's
to be fair, I just started using Notion recently. I still don't know what the hell I'm doing with that either.
Well, that's exactly my point, is that you kind of oftentimes, especially with slightly like novel things, it's just like you kind of end up, it's just repetition. I don't want to take away from the
Telegram. They're all
I don't want to take away from the idea that things have to be intuitive and that Knovigator can become more intuitive. I 100% agree with that, and it's a work in progress, and we're iterating on it. And but yeah, I mean,
is your dad kind of tech savvy though? Because my dad still has problems with email, so it's like, you know,
your dev.
Yeah, my dad has.
Oh, your dad. No, my dad is. You know, my dad is pretty tech savvy. He's you know, it's actually interesting. It's he's a really good source of this kind of feedback because, you know, maybe he's not like a 15-year-old, like
spans the generations a bit.
yeah,
Exactly.
well,
Yeah.
it's just
I
that
think when you mentioned that,
where things don't make sense for him is actually really good, like, you know, really good signal of, oh, maybe I should be focusing on this, or maybe I should be explaining this. Yeah, so it's a good sounding board for sure.
Well, that's probably because he's not flooded with social media like we are.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, it's like you said, it's like
Yeah.
if I'm too close to it, then he's giving me a kind of a set of fresh eyes that and he's like very organized, you know, like, so his mind is like everything has to be structured and make sense, and like, why is this doesn't make, you know, like, so it's good, it's good it's good sanity check.
It's not like an open sluice like my brain. It just accepts everything. Very uncritically.
Well, it's just hard because I've been looking at this for a while, so you know, I don't get, like you said, it's like I don't get those fresh eyes. I already know. It's funny because, you know, I've been through several iterations of this product, and when I first built it, I was like, it was, in my mind, it was so, and I think that every kind of app creator goes through this, but it makes so much sense to them in their head that they're like, they can't even fathom.
It can only be this way.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, isn't it obvious? But, you know, that's why you get user feedback. That's why, yeah.
I'm excited to use it. I think this is just the kind of thing I need to organize my thoughts and just to be able to find them again.
You're right.
And to be able to,
I like the idea of,
you know,
having it to sort of help with research as a research tool. That sounds like it could actually really help in that. And then to-do list, you know, just upvote the fact that I need to do this before I do anything else, you know.
You know what I would love? Sorry. What I would really love is if you could display them like on the home screen of your iPad or something like that, or the home screen of your phone, like your best, you know, thoughts or bits of research or something that you just want to be reminded of on a regular basis. That's the thing that I'm really after, is the integration with being able to show it back to yourself, maybe randomly.
Yeah, well, there's actually a random, if you look at the below the, like, if you go to the private stream and look at some of the controls below it, like, you can see one of the controls is random. So you can actually like click a random and it will show you a random ordering of your private stream or any stream.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and there's different ways of sorting. There's different ways of sorting the information there. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear more of your feedback. You can message me in Knovigator at Metamita and just like, and you can record videos and literally show me like, hey, I wish this was this. That's one of the really nice things about this.
Well, imagine you're a student and you're learning like physics or something, and you really wanted to be able to show you the stuff that you stored in there back randomly just on your home screen or whatever, so that it goes in like you know, by osmosis, just by repetition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That kind of thing would be so helpful.
Yeah, well, one way you can do that right now is to upvalue the things you want to see at the top of the list, and then your stream
literally will show it to you on the left.
Well, on the left is you can pin things on the left, but then you can also upvalue kind of the most important things,
right?
And you can sort your stream by upvalue. That's another one of the controls along with random, and you can.
That's cool.
And you can be like, all right, what's the most important? And you know it's really important because you spent money, to even tiny amounts of money.
Yeah. Why did I spend £10 on that to be upvoted? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I've got a deadline in 30 days or something. Yeah, completely.
Oh well, look, we probably better start because we've been talking for a long time, and I think there's only so much new information people can take on board.
Yeah.
But I'm really enthusiastic about this. I love it. I think it's a really unique spin on social media, and that it could blow it open. I mean, this could really go big.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah. I'm grateful for your guys' help in getting it there.
Well, thank you for spending the time with us today and actually doing a demo for us as well, because it's really valuable when you sit there and you actually talk us through things. So really appreciate it. So Dmitriy is on Knovigator.com, and you can go to Twitter Knovigator to find him. And thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you guys so much.
Brilliant.